Hi, I'm Rob Power from Rebellion. Very excited today. We're here with Terry Marcel, the man behind cult 80s classic Hawk the Slayer. Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Let's start at the beginning, because I think that's probably a sensible place to start.
Yeah.
So, Hawk the Slayer, when did you kind of start writing it? When did you have the idea? Where did the idea come from for the film?
Okay. Well, I was Harry Robertson, who was my partner.
Yeah.
And I were working together. We did a couple of small pictures in which Harry did the music. One was called There Goes the Bride. The other one was called Why Not Stay for Breakfast. They were two of Ray Cooney's stage plays that we adapted to small movies. And I can specifically remember one day when Harry used to come on the set and he used to play me some music. He'd say, what do you think about this for that scene in these two movies we're doing? I'd say, that's great. And we were chatting one day and suddenly we realised that we were both mad sword and sorcery fans. And I said to him, I've got this idea. I said, it's probably mad. I said, but have you seen Kurosawa's Ojimbo? He said, yeah, well, I love it. I said, did you like the Western version of it, Fistful of Dollars? Yeah, it's great. I said, well, I've got an idea. Why don't we do an English version of it, set in the 13th, 14th century, and, we'll have this wandering knight. Oh, yeah, great. He said, that sounds fantastic. I said, and he's a great sword fighter. I said, and I can come up with a storyline, whatever. He said, terrific. I said, well, look, I'm going off to Spain. I've got a holiday coming up. I'll kick something out. I'll kick 50, 60 pages out of an idea. Oh, great. Now, don't forget, at this point, it wasn't going to be sword and sorcery. We were it was that we both love sword and sorcery. So now I'm in Spain and I'm starting to write it. And I've got this character called Hawk and I'm got an idea of a story and I've got the sword on his back. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm trying to get this sword out. I can't get it out. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not working. Why don't I make it a magic sword? And why don't I make the sword a mind sword?
Of course.
That can fly into his hand. Then the whole theme changed. And then I worked on the idea that it was a mind sword, that it had magical powers, that there were two brothers, classic story. Yeah. One kills one, there's vengeance, needs some comedy in it, bring the dwarf and the giant in. And I came up with a 70-page idea, came back to Harry. Harry and I sat down. Harry took the 70 pages and he was very, very good, apart from the music, which he was brilliant on. He was very good at the comedy between the dwarf and the giant.
Oh, right,
Turkles and things like that were all Harry's stuff. So he was brilliant at that. And within a few weeks, we had a 90-minute script, which we, obviously went out and tried to get finance for.
That's pretty good going. A few weeks, quick turnaround.
We were very quick, yeah. It just happened. It just came together very, very easily.
Yeah. So what were the sort of fantasy precedents that you were talking about then? The stuff that you bonded on, was it kind of Tolkien?
We were Tolkien lunatics, weren't we? We were absolutely, we both had read it several times. Yeah. We'd also read do you know the Thomas Covenant books?
Oh, yeah.
We'd read those and we thought they were wonderful. Yeah. Fritz Lieber, we loved his stuff.
Course, yeah.
We thought Conan, we were into all of it, we were reading all of it. And we just felt that there hadn't been a really good sword and sorcery movie made, and we also didn't want to do Men in Tights. Yeah. I was specific about that. I didn't want to do Men in Tights at all. I wanted it to be, as it was in the movie. There were no tights, none of that Robin Hood stuff. It was just try to do something totally new.
Yeah. So once you'd written it, was it an easy sell? Was it easy to get
No,
made?
it wasn't. It was very hard. And we flogged it around for quite some time. And then we were introduced to a man called Jack Gill.
Right.
There was a separate entity of ITC called Chips.
Okay.
And they made the small budget movies. And we went in to see him and he said, well, we like this. We'd like to do it. We do very small budget. What do you think the budget? What's the lowest you can do it on? I won't tell you what we did. It was very small budget. And then we started preparation and we got a call and we were summoned to Lou Grade's office, the great man himself.
Yeah.
And we went into this room and there he was, the Lou Grade, sitting there with his big cigar. And he sat down and he said, I understand you two gentlemen are making a sword and sorcery movie for Chips, one of my subsidiary companies. And we said, yes, we are. He said, I have a proposition for you. He said, I'll take it over and make it as an ITC film. Mm-hmm. I'll make it a big budget. You will not direct and you will not produce. And that's Terry. Right. both can be executive producers, but I will run the whole thing and make a great movie for you. What do you think? And we just looked at one another and said, well, it's so dear to our heart. No, we're going to stick with Chips. So we had the offer to make it into a big movie, but we never took it.
That's integrity right there.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the release of the film and how it was received at the time. I mean, what are your kind of memories of it coming out?
Well, my memories really are the release in the UK, where it was doing, very good numbers at all the, the cinemas. And that I think we got bumped because he had Titanic coming out, and that took a lot of our cinemas. Right. But as you say, thereafter, we were hoping there was going to be a big release in America, which they had planned to do. Yeah. It never happened because it collapsed. And so, in a way, it sort of ended up as being sold off to different territories. And as of today, I can tell you that it sells. At this moment, nearly every country in the world is still selling it. Really? There's a new Blu-ray coming out. That comes out on... When's that, Andrew?
July the 6th.
July the 6th or 5th? 6th. July the 6th, a new Blu-ray. So it is a constant seller. It's surprising to me, but it does keep selling.
So when did you realise that it was becoming like a cult? A cult classic, yeah.
I don't suppose I really... I mean, all through the years I was getting, fan mail... people asking me to sign memorabilia, which was gradually disappearing because there was the LP, a vinyl LP,
which the soundtrack. I was going to ask you about the soundtrack because it's great. It's wonderful. Actually brilliant. That was Harry, wasn't it?
That was Harry. He was a genius at that. Yeah. And there was a vinyl LP,
right?
Which there are very few of. And so occasionally, I would get someone come along and go, I've got my vinyl LP, will you sign it? Yeah. I've got one of the books. There was a book.
Right.
Yeah, I've signed the book. I've got a poster. Yeah, I'll sign the poster. Can I buy the sword? No.
Okay. Can I buy offers for the sword?
Yeah. Can I buy the sword? No. Same guy every year. You want to sell that sword yet? No. And I suddenly realised there was Andrew and I had been working away on other projects, and he suddenly said to me, he said, these fans, he said, they want you to do some interviews. I said, oh, okay. So he started to set up some interviews. I did a few interviews and suddenly started to get some traction. He said to me, oh, Terry, he said, I wish you could do a sequel. I said, but there is a sequel. He said, what? I said, yeah, we wrote the sequel in 1983.
Oh, right, really?
I said, but I've got to do a rewrite on it. Oh, there was very excitement. And so I think it's Andrew who's really pushed it to where it is now, where we are actually in a position. I've rewritten the original sequel because there were a lot of questions that were asked of me that I couldn't answer. Right. So what I did was I went back and I formulated the whole pre-Hawk the Slayer, where how Hawk and the brother got on, where did Voltan come, why did he change, where did Galt come from, how did they meet, where did Crow come from. So that's all done. Yeah. Then I went to the sequel, which we are hoping to do, and then I had to work on where would it go from there.
Yeah, because it's left quite open at the end.
Yeah, but it now becomes what it should have been. It becomes a much bigger canvas.
Right.
And there's a lot more going on now than there was, and it's all to do with the stones and magic.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot more sword and sorcery.
Awesome. Okay, so what can you tell us about the plot, about any characters?
I can tell you that in the beginning there was no magic in Hawk's Land. There wasn't any.
Right.
And then I've got to be very careful here. There are some creatures called Nelfi. They exist. They just exist, and they travel in these sort of magical light ships.
Right.
And every so often these light ships need powering. Okay. So they'll come across a suitable planet that they believe will give them what they need. They then bury into the earth a gigantic crystal. I mean, mega, a huge, gigantic thing. And from this, they draw earth magic into their ships, and then they can go on. In our world, something different happens, never happened before. But they realize what has happened is once they turn this crystal on, it affects all the other crystals in this world. in one way or another. Some, like a dark crystal, is given certain powers. A white crystal is given certain powers. But some of them are doing terrible damage. So they decide they're going to close this crystal down. And they put 3 stones around it. One here, one the elves have got, and one that's missing. And they surround this giant crystal. They turn it off. And that's how it's been left. Then, eons later, a scumbly little rock troll is down there digging away, and he breaks into the chamber where the great crystal's buried.
Right.
And he, wow, what have I found here? And these greedy little eyes see these 3 stones. I'm having them. And he takes them. And as he takes them, the great crystal comes to life. And magic is born in the land. I'm not going to tell you any more.
So there's almost like elements of science fiction there
It's all magic.
It's all magic.
All the magic in this series or sequel is the tones are all browns and rust colours. The magic is going to be bright reds, brilliant blues, fantastic yellows. And if you're a gifted person in this world, like Hawk is, you can summon the magic from the crystal. I mean, you and I might be gifted, but we might be only able to make a cup of coffee with an amber stone.
Oh, that'd be all right, though, wouldn't it?
It would be. But we might be really gifted, and we might be able to use 3 stones to produce something awesome. And so you'll see the beginnings of that in the sequel.
Okay. So do you kind of still read fantasy now, like contemporary fantasy? Do you
Always.
watch much fantasy now? So what do you make of the state of fantasy now?
I don't watch fantasy because I don't see a lot of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm determined to, try and make another sequel and a TV series of Hawk.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been done right. I don't think anybody's ever really pulled it off. I mean, I love Game of Thrones. I'm a Game of Thrones lunatic, but I don't call that sword and sorcery.
No.
That's fantasy.
Yeah.
True sword and sorcery, like Conan and, some of those, Red Sonja.
Yeah.
All the Robert E. Howard stuff, that's sword and sorcery. That's what I want to do. So really and truly, at the moment, I see nothing out there that would, apart from Lord of the Rings, of course, which I have to keep watching that. That's the thing.
They were quite pricey as well, I hear.
They were quite pricey, but they were magnificent. I mean, I don't think anybody ever could direct them better than Jackson did. They were just superb.
Yeah.
Superb.
So what's the plan then for the new film? Like whereabouts are you in production?
We're currently discussing with you guys here regarding CGI and other involvements. We would hope that you will be involved in the game and whatever. We are currently planning to shoot the sequel in November.
Right.
And that's subject to our fundraising, which we're doing as a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If we can raise the correct amount of money there, then we should be shooting it in November. But you know what it's like in this business.
Yeah. So I just want to say thanks for coming in, Terry. It's been great to talk to you, and best of luck with the Kickstarter. I'm sure all the Hawk Slayer fans are going to eat up all of those extras, because who wouldn't want to be on set for the new film?
I'm glad to do it.
So I hand you back
I'd like that
your
bag.
sword, actually.
Let me just hold it. Wow. Hey, you've got to be gifted, haven't you?
I knew it.
Fantastic.